All right, let's start with a scenario that I think every single person listening has lived through, probably multiple times.
Okay.
You decide, finally this is the month. You are going to learn Spanish, or maybe you're going to start running. You buy the shoes, download the app, you are all
Oh,
in.
yeah, the classic day one enthusiasm. It's a very specific kind of energy.
Exactly. And the first week, it's amazing. You feel like a completely new person. You're hitting the books, you're lacing up the sneakers.
Right.
But then week 3 hits. Life happens. You miss a Tuesday. Then maybe a Thursday because, work ran late.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly you're looking back at the last 10 days and you honestly can't remember, did I study 4 times? Or was it just twice?
And that right there, that is the danger zone. That is the exact moment where the gap opens up.
The gap between perception and reality.
Precisely. When you can't quite remember the details,
Yeah.
your brain has this nasty habit of filling in that memory gap with just a vague sense of failure. It acts like a chameleon. It colors your past with how you feel right now, with your current anxiety. It doesn't say, oh, you missed 2 days based on the data.
Right.
It says, you're falling off the wagon. You're not cut out for this.
It creates a story, a narrative. And once that feeling sets in, the next skip becomes so much easier to justify. It's like, well, I've already messed it up. The streak is dead, so what's one more missed day?
That is the core problem we're unpacking today. We often think habits die because of some dramatic explosion or a massive lack of willpower. But usually, they die in that fog of memory.
The fog where we convince ourselves we're doing worse than we actually are.
Exactly. We act on the feeling of failure rather than the fact of a minor stumble.
So the solution isn't about, getting a better pep talk or watching more motivational videos. It's about tracking. But not just tracking for the sake of counting.
Right. We're not trying to turn you into an accountant. We need to reframe what tracking actually is. It's not just accounting. It is about creating objective proof.
Objective proof.
It's a tool that interrupts those emotional narratives that lead to quitting. If you design it correctly, a tracking system prevents that collapse because it forces you to look at the difference between I feel like I'm failing and the reality is I missed one day.
I love that phrase, emotional narratives, because that is exactly what it feels like. It's a story I tell myself. I'm lazy or I'm just not a runner.
And emotions are incredibly unreliable narrators. Which brings us to our first major concept, this battle between emotional narratives and binary data.
Okay, let's unpack that, because I feel like my emotions are usually pretty honest with me,
Right.
If I feel guilty, it's usually because I slacked off, right? Why shouldn't I trust that gut feeling?
Well, because of something psychologists call mood congruency. Your emotional state, it has a tendency to rewrite history to match how you feel right now.
Oh, interesting.
So if you're tired or stressed or feeling down today, your brain looks back at your past performance and just paints it with that same brush. You're seeing your history through the lens of your current headache.
So if I'm having a bad day, I assume I've had a bad month.
That's it. Let's use the example of writing. Say you commit to writing 3 times a week. Now, anyone who writes or does any kind of creative work knows that some sessions feel like magic. You're inspired, the words just flow. But other sessions,
Oh, it's like dragging words through mud. It's just painful. You finish and you feel like you accomplished absolutely nothing. You almost want to delete the file because it felt so hard.
right. Now, if you are relying on your feelings to track your progress, you're going to discount those mud sessions. You'll tell yourself they didn't count because they felt bad.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But a tracker works on binary data. It asks one simple question. Did you show up? Yes or no?
It's indifferent to the mood. It doesn't care if you were inspired or if you were grumpy.
Completely indifferent. And that is its superpower. Let's zoom out for a second. Imagine looking back after 12 weeks. That's 3 months of effort. If you stuck to the schedule, you have 36 entries in your log.
36 times I sat in the chair.
Exactly. Now, over those 3 months, your mood definitely varied. Your energy shifted. You had good days, you had bad days. But the record shows consistent execution, regardless of those variables.
That is huge. Because without the record, I guarantee you, by week 12, if I'm in a slump, I'd look back and think, I haven't really done much. I would totally minimize my own effort.
The tracker removes that narrative space. It just takes away the room where you convince yourself that missing one session means the whole effort is pointless. It's not about positive thinking. It's about creating a record that your mood cannot argue with.
So when your brain says you've accomplished nothing, the check marks are there saying, actually, you showed up 36 times.
It's like bringing a lawyer to an argument with your own brain.
Objection, Your Honor. Here's the evidence.
That is a perfect analogy. You are building a case against your own insecurity. And you need admissible evidence, not hearsay from your emotions.
Okay, so this leads right into the second big idea, which is how this binary data stops us from negotiating with ourselves. Because I am a world-class negotiator when it comes to getting out of things I don't want to do.
Aren't we all? The brain is a rationalization machine, and this is key. Habits aren't usually killed by a decision to quit. You rarely wake up and say, I am hereby terminating my goal to learn Spanish.
No, it's much quieter than that. It's the just this once.
Quiet just this once. That is the negotiation process. I'm tired, I'll do double tomorrow. I had a hard day at work, I deserve a break.
Yeah, I've said all of those this week.
And this is where complexity kills you. If your tracking system is vague or if it allows for partial credit, you give yourself all this room to negotiate.
So if my goal is just, I'm going to study Spanish for a while, that's way too vague. It invites the negotiator in.
Way too vague. But even, I'm going to study for 30 minutes, can get slippery if you don't track it as a binary yes or no. You start bargaining. Well, I studied for 20 minutes. That's basically 30, right? Can I check the box?
And the answer has to be no.
The solution is visible proof that just interrupts that rationalization. It needs to be simple. Did you practice today? Yes or no? Did you study for that hour? Yes or no? There is no third option.
Your gray area.
And no, well, I studied for 40 minutes, but I was checking my phone, so maybe that's half a check mark. No half check marks.
No half check marks. I like that rule.
And here's why that is so important. You cannot judge quality. This is the hardest part for perfectionists. You cannot say a session didn't count because it was low quality. The tracker only measures presence.
That's liberating, actually, because sometimes I won't even start because I'm afraid I won't do a good job. I'm just paralyzed by the expectation of quality. But if the goal is just, did you do it? The bar is lower, it's more achievable.
It creates a clarity that mood-based decisions just cannot penetrate. See, complexity creates loopholes. Loopholes create negotiation. And negotiation leads to skipping. The value of the tracker is removing the cognitive space where skipping sounds reasonable.
So you're kind of outsourcing your executive function to the paper. The paper says empty box, so you fill it.
You're shutting down the inner lawyer. And just looking at the facts.
But there's another layer to this, right? It's not just about stopping yourself from quitting. It's also about who you become in the process.
This is the concept of accumulated proof and what we can call the empty room.
The empty room. What do you mean?
Well, think about it. Who holds you accountable when no one is watching? Most of the time, the habits we are trying to build, writing, exercising, learning, they're solitary pursuits.
It's you, alone.
It's you in an empty room with a decision.
Yeah, no one is standing over my shoulder checking if I really did my Duolingo lesson. There's no crowd cheering me on.
Right. Most of us don't have an accountability partner calling every morning. So the scoreboard, the tracker, it becomes the witness. It sees you. It counts, even when no one else does.
It's objective witnessing. It validates the effort that the rest of the world just doesn't see.
Yes. And when you look at that accumulated proof, let's say 3 months of consistent check marks, it shifts your perspective. You stop being accountable to a coach or a friend. You become accountable to the pattern you've built.
So you're accountable to the version of yourself that showed up for the last 89 days. You don't want to let that person down.
Exactly. It drives an identity shift. When you see that long string of check marks, your self-image changes from I am someone trying to build a habit to I am someone who has demonstrated consistency.
That is a massive difference. Trying feels flimsy. Demonstrated feels like concrete. It's evidence-based identity.
And you protect that pattern, not because you want a gold star, but because it reflects who you have proven yourself to be. You're not protecting a number. You're protecting your identity. You become the kind of person who doesn't break the chain.
It's interesting because usually we think we need to change our identity before we can stick to a habit. Like, I need to believe I'm a runner. But this is saying the opposite.
It is. It's saying just run, track it, and the proof will change the identity for you. Action precedes belief. The tracker just preserves the evidence of the action so the belief can form.
But let's go back to something you touched on earlier, the difference between a good day and a bad day. Because even if I have the identity of someone who shows up, I'm still going to have days where I feel like I'm failing.
And this brings us to the reality gap, the disconnect between frequency and feeling. This is where people get really, really tripped up.
Okay, so walk us through the scenario.
Imagine you are 3 months into a daily habit. Your brain, being the survival machine that it is, has a negativity bias. It focuses on the struggles. It remembers the days you wanted to quit. It remembers the sessions that felt completely pointless.
So I'm sitting there thinking, man, this is a grind. I'm struggling every day. I must not be getting any better.
But then you look at the data. You see 90 entries, 90 consecutive days. The data is just staring you in the face.
The data says success, but my brain says struggle.
And here is the redefinition of progress that we have to embrace. Progress does not require feeling motivated every day. It requires showing up on the days you don't feel motivated.
That is a critical distinction. Progress isn't the feeling of motivation, it's the act of overcoming the lack of it.
That's it. The tracker proves that the bad days, the ones where you felt sluggish or distracted, are just data points in a larger pattern of sustained effort. They are physiologically valid even if they feel psychologically draining.
So when I look at those 90 check marks, the 5 terrible days that are haunting my memory, they just kind of disappear into the pattern.
They stop carrying so much weight. Most people quit because they interpret a bad day as evidence of failure. Oh, I had a terrible workout, I'm getting worse. The tracker allows you to see that the bad day was just Tuesday, and you showed up on Tuesday. That's a win.
It flattens the emotional roller coaster.
And creates a long view. When you zoom out, the trajectory is consistency. When you're zoomed in on your feelings, it's chaos. The tracker forces the zoom out.
Okay, I want to talk about the gamification side of this. Because there is something deeply satisfying about seeing a streak. It's almost addictive. My Duolingo owl gets very aggressive about this.
It is, and we can leverage that. This is all about streaks and loss aversion.
Loss aversion is the idea that we hate losing things more than we like gaining them, right?
Exactly. The pain of losing $20 is psychologically about twice as intense as the joy of finding $20. We can apply this to habits. Think about the difference between day 1 and day 31. On day 1, the decision to work out is just, do I want to work out?
Easy to say no, I have nothing to lose.
But on day 31, if you have 30 check marks in a row, you aren't just deciding to work out. You are deciding whether to break a streak. You're deciding to burn down something you built.
The stakes are so much higher, the inventory I'm holding is more valuable.
The psychological cost of quitting goes up with every single check mark. You've invested in this chain. Breaking it feels like wasting that investment.
So it's not that I suddenly have more willpower on day 31. It's that the easy choice has shifted. On day 1, the easy choice is to stay on the couch. On day 31, the easy choice, psychologically, is to maintain the streak because the pain of breaking it is just too annoying.
Precisely. You are making the path of least resistance the one that serves you. And that's momentum. It's distinct from motivation. Motivation is a feeling. Momentum is a force. Streaks create momentum.
And the visual evidence is key here, isn't it? It has to be visible.
Absolutely. If you track it in your head, the streak doesn't feel real. Seeing that unbroken chain of X's on a calendar makes abandoning the habit feel like wasting something valuable. You aren't just skipping a day, you are throwing away a month of proof.
It's funny because rationally the work you did in the past doesn't just disappear if you miss a day. Your muscles don't evaporate.
Of course not.
But psychologically it feels like the asset value just drops to zero.
And we should use that irrationality to our advantage. If your brain wants to cling to the streak, let it. Use that loss aversion to drag you through the days when motivation is at zero.
Okay, so we've got these 5 powerful mechanisms working for us. But surely there are ways to screw this up. I feel like I could easily turn this into a neurotic obsession if I'm not careful.
Oh, you absolutely can. There are definitely warning labels on this system. The first and biggest one is gaming the system.
You mean like lying to the tracker?
Lying or just lowering the bar so much that it becomes meaningless just to keep the streak alive. If you mark yes when you didn't really do the core behavior, or you do a 10-second workout just to get the check mark when the goal was 30 minutes, you destroy the value immediately.
Because the whole point is objective proof. If the proof is fake, the identity shift doesn't happen.
Exactly. You know it's a lie. The goal is accurate reflection, not impressive data. You aren't trying to impress an audience. You're trying to mirror reality to yourself. Honesty is the only way this works.
And what about complexity? I know people who have these elaborate spreadsheets with color codes and weighted scores.
And that is the second trap, complexity. Tracking too many things or adding complex scoring systems. It just creates judgment space.
Well, I get 5 points for cardio, but only 2 points for stretching.
And suddenly you're right back to negotiating. I did enough stretching to equal a cardio session. No. Stop. The rules need to be keep it binary, yes, no, 1 metric per goal, and keep it visible.
Simple is sustainable. If it takes more time to track the habit than to do the habit, you've already failed.
Exactly. If it takes you more than 5 seconds to track it, you won't do it long term.
So, to synthesize all of this, it sounds like the main takeaway is that we give our discipline too much credit and our environment far too little.
That is a great way to put it. Most people do not fail due to a lack of discipline. They fail because they lack accurate feedback. They're operating in a fog of feelings. And feelings are terrible at measuring long-term progress.
And the scoreboard clears the fog.
The scoreboard provides reality. It says, here is what you actually did.
Yeah.
And that clarity is what allows you to survive the hard times.
So the ultimate goal isn't just to have a pretty calendar with a lot of X's on it.
No. The ultimate goal is to ensure the habit survives the inevitable moments, and they will come when continuing feels harder than stopping. That is when the tracker saves you.
It's your safety net. It's your anchor in reality when your brain is trying to drift away.
Exactly right.